What's up everyone, welcome back to ARTV. My name is John and it's time for a review of the fourth studio album dedicated by the Canadian pop artist Carly Rae Jepsen. This follows up her 2015 breakout, critically acclaimed record Emotion, something that I'm very excited to talk about because I've been wanting this for a while now. I'm officially back home from Sonic Temple Music and Art Festival. A ton of fun there. I was gonna film the review on the go, but that was chaos in a good way for the most part, and I'm also glad that I gave myself some extra time with Dedicated. Going into Carly Rae's last record, Emotion, to say my expectations were non-existent would be an understatement, I feel. That was a record that hit me like a ton of bricks. I had a lot of viewers that were really requesting me to check it out. I think I reviewed it a few months after the actual release date, but I'm so glad that I got to it, gave it a chance. Some of the best pop songs of the decade, including Run Away With Me, live on that album, if you ask me. And to follow that up, it's a very, very tough case to crack. And here on Dedicated, she started dropping a few singles. I'm a little bit disappointed that Cut to the Feeling didn't make the record, but I understand why. It was a little bit old by the time that this record rolled around. But we got Party for One, Julien, Now That I Found You, No Drug Like Me. Granted, I didn't hear all of those before the record dropped, but still, the ones that I did hear, I was enjoying. For Dedicated, Carly Rae enlisted the help of some different collaborators than the ones that she worked with on Emotion and Emotion Side B. That's a tough act to follow, and for the most part, that kind of followed the guidelines of 80s influences and synth pop, and not that Dedicated deviates all that much, it's just that I feel that Carly Rae had her producers take her in, yes, an 80s influenced direction, some synth pop at times, but also the 90s seemed to be a big influence on what the final product of this album is. There's a lot of great synth and bass moments on this album, which I definitely appreciate. I've said it so many times, but I'm an absolute sucker for synth pop, and Carly Rae's voice here, it was something that I felt maybe in places on my first few listens was lacking just because of the lyrical content surrounding it. I almost feel that that's kind of a detractor sometimes if the lyrics aren't there, even though the vocals are sounding great. But with more listens, I came to appreciate this album for what it is, and even though the overall sound and tone of this record maybe isn't quite as strong as Emotion, it's definitely a worthy follow-up. Let's start this off right away and just say that Carly Rae Jepsen is just one of the most likable people in music right now. She gives off, yes, the good girl vibe, but also the kind of hopeless romantic, and this album Dedicated once again shows that off. If you're coming into this album wanting songs that are not about relationships or love or potential interest or romanticism, then this record might not be for you unless you can really tune out the lyrics. This is an album that focuses in big time, for better or for worse. I say that because for the most part, I'm kind of on board with what she's talking about and discussing her love life, the details, the things that are going right, and the loves of the past. For example, Julien, that being a track that leads off the album, one of the singles. I feel that some of the strengths are in the writing in places. I think it's catchy. I think it's pretty straightforward. At times that can be a detractor, a thing that hurts the record because maybe it's wearing the heart on the sleeve a bit too blatantly and there's not really any layers to peel back. But sometimes I also admire that. Also, the production on this record, for the most part, is solid once again. It complements Carly's voice, her vocal range, and the tone that she's trying to get across. I love that Jack Antonoff produced one of the tracks, and we'll talk more about that one in just a moment. But overall, there aren't necessarily a ton of negatives about this record. It's just that in places, it pales in comparison to Emotion. One last thing I will add here is that repetition in places is a killer. Something that stabs a few of the songs in the back. It feels like maybe they were building up to be something really, really strong, and then they just kind of fell off. I feel that the sound was working its way towards being something really cool, and then the repetitive chorus, it kind of got monotonous and slightly annoying with repeated listens. And also Real Love. That one really felt like it was about to deliver something bombastic. The way that the pre-chorus hits, I really like the lyrics and her delivery there. But then the chorus, it just feels like it needed to explode. And instead, we get a little bit of a flat line. Not a total one, mind you, but still. Might as well start by talking about the single Party for One, which is a very, very catchy tune, something that dropped about 6 months before Dedicated actually released. And in those months leading up, I came back to it a few times, but it wasn't until the actual full-length album hit my eardrums that this song fully connected for me. This is something that features some magnetizing synthesizers, especially the twirling, spiraling ones that hit after the chorus. They're just so fantastically done. The production on this track is so solid, and even though maybe I would have liked a few more details as to what led to this moment and you saying, this is it, I'm done with the bullshit, let me be by myself, I don't need this man in my life, it's still so damn alluring and appealing that I keep coming back. I'm absolutely hooked. I'll Be Your Girl plays it kind of mysterious and shy when it starts off. There's a little bit of a deep bass rumble there that I really do like. It gives it that sly edge. And by the time that the hook rolls around, Come to Bed, I'll Be Your Girl, she sings on the hook there behind some kind of spry synths. It's such a bright, almost quirky tune that I can't help but get behind it. I have so much love and admiration for I Want You in My Room. Jack Antonoff produced this track, and he has a fantastic track record in the past with pop production, and he kills it here. I love the 80s vibes, the kind of talk sing that starts it off, the I'm like a lighthouse. I love that. Carly Rae sounds so playful there. It's easily one of the best tracks on this LP. It's something that I find so hypnotic because of the way that it works in the guitars and the background, leads up to the chorus, the vocoded vocals, and the kind of 80s leaning instrumental outro. Everything comes together like a puzzle. All the pieces are in line, and it's simply perfect. No Drug Like Me features an ambient, understated vocal from Carly Rae as it opens up. I love the way that she says, you say you love me, but you wouldn't dare. It's just something that makes it feel like her heart is so cold. She's been hurt so many times, and that is talked about on some of these other tracks like Too Much, which are fantastic in their own right. A banging single right there. That should absolutely be a hit. And she talks about how she kind of falls in love and gives everything that she does too much. I know people like that. People like that cannot help that. She is a hopeless romantic in some senses, but also a very smart individual, and she's trying to balance between the two. But getting back to the original track that I was talking about there, I just feel that this is something that does deliver in a very impactful way, not just because of the lyrics or the music. It's a combination of really everything firing on all cylinders. And it's something that I see as an ideal pop song that I'm definitely going to continue jamming. Now on the downswing, there are unfortunately those detractors that we talked about, including repetition and some tracks that just feel that they don't really grab my attention because they've already been done before, either by her or by a plethora of other artists in pop. One of those tracks would be the sound, unfortunately. I do like what the song is kind of going for, the angle that it's attempting to work, but I truly don't feel that it delivers because that hook, it just kind of hits you and you don't feel any kind of real impact or consequence. I might catch hell for saying this, but I genuinely don't feel that Julien is all that fantastic. It's something that just feels like it's kind of orbiting and not really leaving that much of an impression. The warped synths on this track that open it up, and the chorus that rolls around and just feels kind of like it's bogged down by the fact that it sounds like it's already been done either by Carly Rae or another artist. It's just unfortunate. I am divided on a handful of other cuts, including Real Love, which, as I mentioned previously, had so much potential. I don't feel that it was totally squandered. I just was left feeling like, oh, that's it once we get to the hook, because it really did flex so much of a strength leading up to that. I was hooked. There was kind of a mysterious vibe going. The pre-chorus was excellent. And then the chorus, not to say that it falls apart, but it just doesn't reach the heights that it needed to in order for this song to fully function. Dedicated does get back on track with some of the other amazing moments here, including Now That I Found You, featuring those racing synthesizers, just an adrenaline-fueled synth pop banger that I do adore for what it is. And the final track that I want to talk about today, kind of the LA hallucinations of this record, if you will. That's not to say that maybe I Want You in My Room isn't that, but also my other top favorite, and the one that I have to throw a ton of praise to, is Right Words, Wrong Time. That is a cut that has it all in the title, essentially, for what the song is about. She's talking to this guy who is saying the right things, but it's always coming at the worst time, maybe after things have already fallen apart. And here, she uses this overproduction, I would say to an extent, in her favor. It's something that really works out for her because it does feature these kind of stomping drums and something that skitters across in places, especially during the hook. But what fuels this song is her personality and the way that she's able to get across the message and make it feel truly unique. From the squirmy, slightly annoying one-notedness of something like Everything He Needs to the 80s bubbling over, almost Gwen Stefani-like delivery of For Sure, this is an album that does throw a few wrenches in the gears, but still, it's a very, very good pop album with more than enough tracks. It was a little bit confusing, though, because there's 15 songs on every edition that I'm seeing on digital platforms and even physical retailers, but apparently that's the deluxe edition. I'm not entirely sure, but I have reviewed the entire 15-song album at about 49 minutes. I think there's a lot of highs and very few lows. Even the lows aren't really that low, but overall, this, in my eyes, is a step down from Emotion. As a result of that, I'm rating this, for me personally, a 3.5 out of 5. I want to hear your thoughts on Dedicated, though. Let me know in the comments section down below, and please take a second to leave a like on this video. It truly does help support the channel, and subscribe for the love of music. If you would like to help fund what I do on both of my channels each and every month, then tap the top link down below, or else the annotation on the corner of the screen, to support me on Patreon. If you want to see my thoughts on Emotion Side B, then tap here for that review, or tap here for another pop review. Socials in the description, and I'll see you soon for more on ARTV.